Alright, before I get started on what's news, I might as well give a special shout out to my sister who, about a few hours ago, have made a very big step towards her life. She has moved away from New York. She is now a Florida resident, or at least she will be on driving probably on Saturday night. She is driving, her and her husband is driving from to Florida to live, and pretty much as I'm sad to see her go, I can completely understand why she decided to take this journey. I was spending 2.5 weeks helping her pack. And to me, as I was packing, I see that she was excited. She can't wait. And being that the fact that she is a cancer survivor, she has recently got a clean bill of health about a few months ago from her battle with Hodgkin lymphoma, and the fact that that pretty much gave her a new breed on life because it has been a struggle both for the whole entire family with this situation, and the fact that she wants to go where it will be more healthier for her because now the effects, of course, from the chemo have pretty much left her pretty much with arthritis pains, which gets worse by the weather. And the way New York is, it can really be a frustrating a thing for her during the winter times. So her move is pretty much more for health reasons and just pretty much getting away from it all, from the craziness that is Gangster City, New York. But in all, as much as I'm sad to see her go, I'm actually am happy. I love my sister very very much, and I wish her the best of the best going there. And if she's looking at this right now, just know that I'm a phone call away. Whatever situation comes on, just call me. I'll be there for you. With that being said, I do have some five stories to talk about in the What's News video. Two happens to be with Florida related, but these are update videos, so don't go crazy. But I need to talk about the one thing that caught my attention while I was at work. I actually looked this up just to see just how exactly how this all came about. And needed to say, uh, when I read the story, when I did a follow up and see where it's going, it was very, very clear that there was stupidity on both sides here. Uh, it's just bugged me out how this is actually could happen. And to me, I put blame on two sides here. Let's be straight up here. Let's be straight up and down here. There was this woman who decided it was a smart idea to go take a cab from Boston to New York. And as a result, she had ran of a bill, a cab fare of $980. She refused to pay that bill and she got arrested. Now, when I heard about the story, the first thing came to my mind is, what cab is that stupid enough to have this girl, in her car to go to one state to another, uh, and two, why she thought she was going to get anything lower than what that is. You're leaving the state. You may have to cross another state just to get to New York State, and then from New York State, you have to travel all the way from the other side just to get to the city. That's not a $30 cab ride. And that was the big thing about this whole thing, is just like, I just couldn't believe somebody was actually thought that this was a good idea. And even she knew this was pretty much a bad idea, but she insisted on taking the cab. And look, we can sit there and say that the cab, pretty much tricked her, which that was not really the case at all. Uh, but the point was, it, this should never not have happened. And now she 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 even knew this, and that was the whole crazy thing. I don't know why she couldn't take the bus. Even the judge, who who probably just shook their head and said it was cheaper to take the bus, which it is cheaper to take the bus. The most she would have probably paid if she were to go Boston to New York would pretty much be 200 max. 200 max. Why she felt the need to take a cab, I do not know. And the thing is, why did the cab choose to take her? That didn't even make any, no sense. There's an image. If you guys, when you see the link, you see the image, you see the picture of the woman, and you also see the picture of the cab driver. And I'm like looking at this cab driver. Said, "Really, guy? You didn't think that for one that this was suspicious?" And it says here, New York cab driver Adrian transferred near his home for Friday, February 13th, after Massachusetts woman refused to pay the $980 fare from the JFK airport uh, to um to Fulton, Massachusetts. It was just a bad decision. It was just a bad move. Uh, Look, bro, there are. I'm surprised because there's actually kind of restrictions for New York to actually go outside their jurisdiction. I mean, there's certain conditions like some cabs do go to certain parts of New Jersey, but not all parts of New Jersey. It really all depends on where you're going. There's actually some cabs that are designed to go to airports and back. There are green cabs that pretty much like the local cabs, but they have a flat rate. And that was the whole thing. That she was looking for the flat rate, but every time that they said they kept on telling her it went up and up because A, you got tolls, which are more than one, and B, the traveling distance. Keep in mind, it was like here's one of them. They said the original one was 604.80. All right, taking a taxi from Boston to New York. Okay, that's the thing. It didn't. And then it went up from there. But once he had that, well, tell me how much it will cost. How much that will cost? He said, hold on 1 second, because I believe that she wanted to have uh, basically she explained where she wanted to go, and this is what it was. He said, okay, where do you live? Okay, when do you want to go? And that's the two things that was being asked. She wanted to go from Boston to New York, pretty much in Brooklyn, and they said that would be $800. And he said $800, and that's the flat rate. He said, yep, plus the toll. So they said the flat rate was $800. The toll was extra. Not so lucky, I say, and that was that was the whole thing. And they asked her another question, how much she wanted to pay, and when she pretty much responded unrealistically, $100. Once you say $100, you might as well just take the damn bus. That was the whole thing that really catch me. But apparently she kept trying to get it, and couldn't get a load of $100 because um, she owes $908. And when she saw the judge, it was like, it's just, it's just, it bugs out. And here's the thing about this thing, um, and one of the companies said, I wouldn't suggest you take a taxi, but if you want to do that, that's fine. Basically, say, hey, you're on your own risk. No, you're right. Thank you. I'll keep looking. Here's the other thing is, and it also says here, this is exactly what I mean. The bus, depending on the company, is usually $15 to $30, and if you buy a ticket early enough, the train can be as low as $50, though it usually is more like 150. So either way you see it, that's a big difference between 150 to eight to $980. So this was a big thing. This made the tickers. This made a lot of people laugh. I just thought it was kind of stupid. And again, I'm not getting off the cab for it either, because the cab should just say, hey, "Look, we don't do that kind of stuff." There are certain cabbies that won't pick you up if you're going a certain mile in New York. So the fact is that that should never have happened. But again, this woman really wasn't realistic, and obviously really wasn't thinking. And it was like one of those stories that it would have been my last story to talk about, but I just want to get this one out the way because it's just the dumbest thing I've ever read so far this year, and the year is still young. I'm gonna leave a link below. You guys can check it out yourself, but it's just one of those stories that I felt the need to share. But again, listen, if you're living out of state and it's not New Jersey or somewhere near Long Island, take the train or the bus. It's much cheaper than taking a cab. Keep in mind, cab charged by the mile. And if you gotta go, if it's gonna take you half a day to get here or a whole day to get here, chances are you might want to take something that is gonna be easy on the pocket, especially if you're heading for New York. Especially when you know that that cabs will try to boost the price up. It's just not worth it. It really isn't. Let's move on to some more serious stories, and I might as well get this one out the way because this one is a story that I wanted to talk about. Um, this is a story that has broke not too long ago. It's a story that a lot of people have been keeping an eye on in Florida because of Stand Your Ground. Of course, and this is about the movie theater situation. I will leave a link for you guys to check out because there is not only the article, but there's also video confirmation of the trial at hand. But for those who don't know, the person accused of killing um, a man and injuring his wife in the movie theater was denied bail. It says here the former judge has denied bail for a former Tampa Bay police officer charged in the fatal shooting of a man inside the movie theater. Judge Pat Sakara watched a grainy video of the shooting and heard police interviews and witnesses before making decisions Friday. Um, Earl, Earlier, the bail hearing for Curtis Reeve, who fatally shot the man inside the movie theater during an argument over texting, took a dramatic turn. Prosecutors played the video of the shooting and recordings of the defendant police interview. So this is very important to know because when it comes to these type of cases, witnesses and what the prosecutor have to present their case to the grand jury is very, very important. And a lot of people was a little bit concerned about whether or not he's going to compose stand your ground here. And if you hear the defendant, in which you see the video, he was actually arguing about self-defense. He was saying a lot about the cell phone being thrown at the defendant. There was the his he felt his life was being threatened because of that because he was old. He says 71 years old, and he don't. And the guy was being very aggressive, so that put actions. The problem is with the whole entire situation is there were actual people who said otherwise, including his own wife. So this is something that's very, very hurtful for him, and this is why if he would have gotten out on bail of that particular moment, then I would say there's a 50-50 chance that he may actually beat the rap. But because the evidence is so strong, there's a possibility that that self-defense claim that he is that they're gonna try and throw out there may not stick, especially with the stand your ground. And from what I'm hearing, it doesn't look like it does apply here. But that is something that's very important because a lot of people has been looking very closely at how the judge was going to rule on the bail hearing. But this is it says here. Now this is also from um, Curtis Reed's own words. If I have to do it again, I would have never. It would have never happened. Reed said to told detectives. But I don't get over. But I don't get do-overs. 371 is charged with a second-degree murder in the June 13th killing of Chad Olson, 43. The bail hearing begins Wednesday. Attorneys for Reed argued that the judge well, argued the judge to release him before the trial. Checkers heard from Reed's family, friends, and former colleagues who testified he didn't have any anger problems and wasn't a flight risk. But prosecutors sought to have Reed jailed until his trial, and the judge agreed. The bail hearing provides a glimpse of the strength and weaknesses of the prosecutor's case, which is very important to understand that in this situation, um, seeing that process in motion really did show what the prosecutor had on the table, what cards they have on the table, and to me, it looks like in this case, they do have a strong case against them. And keep in mind, even though they said the minimum he can possibly face is 25 years. Because of his age, that is a life sentence. So you better believe that the ex-cop is looking to try and do everything they can to avoid that. According to police interviews, Reeve and Olson hit him in the face, possibly with the cell phone, and he shot in self-defense. Yet other witnesses, including Reeve's wife, told attorneys they never saw the deceased strike Reeves. And this is again, when you have your even your wife said this, that is a big, big, big blow to the defense. It really is. It says here the wife did tell police that Olson stood up and leaned over towards his husband just before the shooting, and the video appeared to show some contact between the two men. Reeves pleaded not guilty Wednesday. If convicted, he could face the mandatory minimum sentence of 25 years in prison. The prosecution also played a recording of the police interview with Olson's widow, Nicole, who authorities said was shot in the hand by the same bullet that killed her husband. This is what was said. He kept saying stuff to my husband, Nicole said of Reeves. Immediately, I didn't even register with me. I just saw a spark and I saw him down. She said after the shooting that Reeves just sat in his chair and just kind of leaned back and just sat there and didn't try to help. As all the chaos was going on, he was just sitting there, he said. Attorneys for Reed became upset when Olson was texting during the previews before the matinee. The Olsons were sitting in the front of Reeves and his wife. Witnesses say they didn't see Olson hit Reeves, but some saw popcorn flying towards him. This happened so damn fast, Reeves told detectives. Alan prosecute Alan Pastor in the recorder. Reed also said a woman with Austin, later identified as Nicole, was holding her husband back. Reeves faced aggressive battery charges in that injuries. So there's a situation. There's a lot of other stuff that's been said here. I'll leave a link so you can read it. But basically, and I said this before, and it's also something that I'm gonna be talking about in the other video, and why these standing ground laws, if they're not worded properly, can lead to a lot of bad disasters. Um, Again, to me, this guy should have let and it should have let the ushers do their job, because again, in the beginning of the story, he did went to the ushers, he did went to the management and told them that there was texting going on. And once you do that, you should just let it go. You should have left it alone. You should have just let it go after that. The fact he went back towards them, towards that guy, led to a lot of stuff happening, leading to the shooting, leading to the death, and leading to this whole mess that he's into right now. Where, from what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing, and from what is being recorded, what the witness is saying, doesn't look very good. It does not look very good at all, and he's gonna have his work cut out for him. The fact that he's not gonna have any bail until at least the trial starts is telling. It's very, very telling, because it says there that yeah, you're dangerous, bro. You got a temper problem, and not only a flight risk, but there's enough evidence to suggest that that this may be possible that you may be convicted, and we want to make sure we can keep an eye on you at least until the trial happens. Now, if the trial starts, there's a possibility that he could ask for bail again. That is definitely a possibility, but it doesn't look like he's going to be out of prison anytime soon. At least until after until the trial is over, and if he's been acquitted. But again, this is the witnesses and what's been said, including what his wife says, is very telling. Is very telling. It's not like it's your word against mine. It's your word against a whole bunch of witnesses, including the widow who you shot in the hand. And if this was true, that you shot someone and you basically just sat down there and you didn't even bother calling the police, and you being an ex-cop, knowing the situation that can happen, I'm sorry, man. You deserve everything you get because that just shows the coldness that is simply just mind-boggling. You sat down on a chair and didn't do anything. You shot the man. You know he's bleeding to death, and you sat there. How cold can you be? Really, seriously. But believe me, that is one of another few things that I got to talk about in that follow-up story. Believe me when I say that. There's another one that is going to be dealt with, and that one I will talk to later on in this video. But before I do that, I have to address a story here that is very important, especially those who are food stamp recipients, because they're going to get hit, and they're going to get hit hard. And you know what? To me, it's disgusting. It is very, very disgusting. And to me, there's going to be a lot of explaining for me to do. I'm going to call it like it is. But basically, a farm bill. That's what they're calling it. What really is a anti-food stamp bill, in my opinion, has been passed and signed by Obama. I'm gonna read a little bit of it, and I'll leave a link below. But it says President Obama on Friday signed into law an agriculture spending bill that will spread benefits to farmers in every region of the country, while trimming the food stamp program inspired a 2-year battle over legislation. As he planned, as he penned his name on the 5-year measure, Michigan State University. At Michigan State University Saturday, a wide-range bill multitasked by helping boost jobs, uh, emotive research, and conservatives is like a Swiss Army knife. He jokes. No, you're not joking. You just gutted the food stamp program. There's nothing joking about that. But not everyone is happy with the legislation, and Obama's acknowledged this. Passing was a very challenging piece of business. Glad you said that. The bill explains federal crop insurance. The bill expands federal crop insurance and ends direct government payments that goes to farmers whether they produce anything or not. But the bulk of its nearly $100 billion per cause is for a food stamp program that aids 1 in 7 Americans. The bill finally passed with support of Democrats and Republican lawmakers from farming states, but the bipartisan spirit didn't extend to signing ceremonies, where Obama was flocked by farm equipment, hay bales, and Democrat lawmakers. White House passed sanctuary J. I'm sorry, White House press secretary, said several Republicans were invited but declined to attend. Gee, I wonder why. Conservatives remain unhappy with the bill and its generous new subsidies to increase, ranging from southern peanut growth and um, Midwest corn farmers to the northeast maple syrup industry. Again, they're spreading that out from there. They also wanted much larger cuts in food stamps, well, I'm not surprised, than the $800 million Congress finally approved in the compromise. Other Coca Century Tom Ver told reporters he did not expect the cuts for about a 1% of the food stamp budget to have a significant impact on recipients. Obama promised that the State of the Union address last week to make um, he made on 2000 this past week a year of action using presidential powers in addition of pushing Congress that usually is reluctant to go along with his ideas. In that spirit, he cupid the signing of the Farm Bill with his new administration initiative called Made in Ritual America to connect ritual business with federal resources that can help sell their products and services abroad. All right, there are more to talk about this. I'll leave a link below as always. Um, Where do I start from here? First of all, I might as well start with one of the comments that was said earlier when I went down the list to see what the feeling of the situation is, and it's basically what you kind of expect. They said that the Democrats and Obama have pretty much sold out the poor, which they did. I'm not even gonna lie about it. They did. Um, I'm still kind of curious, and those who have followed on politics can easily comment on this. I'm kind of curious what you guys have to say. How this move is going to help create jobs. I really don't. I really don't understand the practice on this. How it's going to create jobs. Also, are you also aware that those who have jobs cannot afford to put food on the table because the job pays is so low, or some of the jobs that was full time job has been cut down to part time job, and some even who work two jobs still can't even forget about putting food on the table, can't even rent an apartment. So I have to ask again, you know, how is this going to help create jobs? I'm curious. I'm very, very curious. So please, if you guys are out there, can tell me that. I like to know. Because to me, this is another this cutting plan. And those out there who said this is a great motivation for people to get up and find work, I just want you to know that you just basically those who have family members are now going to suffer even more because of this plan. And like the Young Turks and a lot of other news outlets who are actual news outlets and none of these propaganda news out there, there's a lot of them. This could hurt the economy more than I think what the Republican care to admit, and the Democrat care to admit. I just hope they realize that. Because anybody who tells me they care for children, and anybody tells me that they're job creators, which most of you guys were job destroyers than anything else, don't come to me with that because to me this is a very very big hit, and everybody's saying that it may not hurt people as much as they think. I got news for you. Since you cut food stamps for the second time, the soup kitchens have tripled to the point where they can't even handle the demand. This is in New York, New Jersey, and parts of Massachusetts. I haven't even touched on the other states yet. And there's this idea, this crazy notion that still goes back even from the 1950s that don't worry, these agencies, these non-for-profit agencies will pick up the slack. I got news for you. The non-for-profit agencies don't have enough resources to do that, and they're being overwhelmed. And I don't, I just, the fact that they don't see that is mind-boggling. Or they do see it, but they choose to ignore it. So yeah, we'll see how well this has worked out. In the long run, you may have saved a few $1 billion, but overall, we're still going to be in a deficit unless we get revenue in. And right now, we're not doing that. You can only cut so much before you realize that hey, something wrong with the system we need to fix. Because guess what? Buhner and company are considering raising the debt ceiling again. So what that tells you? What did that tells you? I'll leave that one for you guys to talk about. I'd like to hear your guys' opinion, but I'm moving on. I got three more stories to talk about. Well, actually, two. Um, I might as well talk about this one, Florida again. This is a story that I haven't heard from in a while, and it just got back on my radio today, and I'm kind of glad it did because this is a story that I really want to know what was going on. It involved Florida. Involves something that happened while the George Zimmerman trial was being done. It was a very important situation because it really shows, and I'll say this: it shows how people will use a gun just about for anything over stupidity and was willing to take another person's life over the stupidity. But it involves Michael Dunn, who fatally shot a teenager whose name was Jordan Davis, over loud music. Now, to give you a brief on what happened was, a car was at a red light sign, and the music was loud. Rather than just ignore it and let this car just go by, he thought it was a good idea just to confront the people who was in the car. Argument ensues, and guess what happened? He shot at the car, killing a teenage boy. This was a very serious situation. Many people was wondering, oh, I guess it's gonna be, stand your ground, even though there was no way that could be stand your ground. No way in the world that could possibly even become remotely close. And apparently, we're now getting some information involving that incident that happened 2 years ago. That's how long this has been um, since that incident happened. It says here witnesses have recounted how a Florida man fired at an SUV outside of Jacksonville convenience store, killing a teen following an argument over loud music. More witnesses and police officers will take the stand Friday in the 47-year-old Michael Dunn's first-degree murder trial for fatally shooting a 17-year-old Jordan Davis in 2012. The article also goes on, and the argument begins after David told uh, the Georgia teen and his friends to turn down the music coming from their SWV. One of the teen's friends lowered the volume, but then told them to turn it back up. Stephen Smith said he pulled up to the convenience store and went inside where the music was loud enough to be noticeable in the store. When Smith went outside and said they noticed the music had stopped. Smith said that he heard someone from the Volkswagen said, "Nope, you're not going to talk to me that way." Smith testified that he saw a man reach into the glove compartment through the passenger window and pull out a pistol and fire into the SWV. The SWV started to drive off, and Smith said he noticed the bullet holes in the side of the car. Smith said that he never saw anyone with a weapon in the SWV. Another witness, Sean Lee Atkinson, said that he was sitting in the trunk, in his trunk outside, and saw when he heard the shots fired. The SWV backed up and spun off, and Atkinson said he saw a man crouching behind the open car door, firing at the vehicle. Atkinson said they said he memorized the license plate and of the shooter's car and went inside the store and write it down on a piece of paper. The store clerk testified she was writing on Dem's finance inside finance inside the store when he heard the shots. Uh, Maya Grims testified that she saw a man firing a civil pistol from the window of the back car. Um, the Road Rover, I think it's called, walked to the door and sound at the sound of the shots and left her items and charged behind Rim. Said Roger got into the back to the black car and which drove the way. Grim said. During an open statement Thursday, prosecutors John Gray told jurors Davis posed no threat to Den and there was no weapon in Davis' vehicle. Jordan Davis was upset, no doubt. Uh, he was cursing, no doubt. He raised his voice, no doubt, but he never threatened the guy. Uh, guy, guy said the only thing he had on his person was a cell phone and a pocket knife. They stayed in his pocket. Dem attorneys Corey Still told juries that he felt threatened and a self fired in a self-defense under Florida law. Den had every right not to be the victim. The defense attorney said, "Okay, again, this is what I mean about an open gray area, but it didn't fly here. Again, witnesses, people hearing people seeing what was going on, people saw the altercation, witnesses inside the car. There's no self-defense here, especially when you're engaging in a situation. But I will get to more about the self-defense claim in a minute. During the argument, Davis brandished his pocket knife, which was 4 inches and stirred when the open. Sir said. Davis' word was, "We should have killed you right now," Son said. And that's all that has to be said. A link will be done here, and again, I will have to talk about this because, again, this is something that I think that if Florida still believes that they should not check at least about what the wording is, I think they should look at these two articles that I just read and say, you know what, we need to go back and just check it out and make sure we put specific guidelines. What is deemed stand your ground, what is not deemed stand your ground. Like I said previously, this guy approached them. Okay, he approached this van. He approached this FWV. He complained about the volume being done. And I understand. He was upset. He was mad. Uh, the music can be heard inside. But again, if he's waiting for a light to change, guess what? The music ain't gonna be there too long. And most likely, if the music is loud, the police will pull that car over and give them a ticket. Noise pollution. I'm pretty sure they have that in Florida. You didn't feel the need to go down there and actually confront these people. Right? Especially if they're teenagers and they're not going to listen to you anyway. Okay? The fact is, you have engaged in a situation again that to me should never have been engaged. And the fact that you felt threatened, the fact that you felt that your life was in danger, that you felt to react and pull out a gun and shoot someone. Well, my question is, why did you put yourself in a position where you had to pull out the gun in the first place? And this brings to my situation about something about people abusing a law that was designed to protect them in case they're in a situation where they have no choice but to use deadly force. He was not in a position where he had no choice but to use deadly force. He wasn't. And I don't know if it's going to be I don't know what the verdict is going to be, but from all the testimony it's have, I'd be pretty stunned if he gets off. Especially when it was very clear from one of the witnesses of what has actually happened. And to me, if he does get off in that situation, it's correct that if both men get off in this correction, then I don't know what to say. I'll be very worried for my sister over there because it tells me that anybody who act with violence first and not think second is very dangerous. And to me, I don't want to be nowhere near that person. And this brings me to a situation where a lot of people, and this is my personal experience that happened today, how people tend to react first without thinking, without observing. Give you a perfect example of this. I was in McDonald's. It was a long day's work. I was gonna head home, do this video. Got a 20 piece. All right. The first thing I did was look around and see how busy it was. Wasn't that many people in there, and there wasn't that many workers there. It took a while, but everything was being made fresh to order. Now, if you're going to a fast food restaurant and they have less people there, and they're actually making everything fresh to order, the chances are you're getting your stuff fresh, but it's going to be a little while before you get it. So, I accepted that. The chicken nuggets, 20 piece. It took about 3 minutes. I can deal with that. I had no problem with that. The person who was only a few feet away from me went nuts. He was waiting for French fries, but it was also being made fresh to order, and he couldn't wait for those fries. He was getting mad. He was cursing these guys out. He was saying, how you guys want $15 an hour and you guys can't get any good. He was basically going berserk. Now I knew this guy was only there for 2 minutes, so he couldn't have possibly been there waiting for it. But he hears a lot of people talking, he sees a lot of people going back and forth, and he's not being served right away. I wanted to tell the person straight up, if you paid attention to how many people they got in behind the counter, You can easily tell why your stuff is being taken long. For one, they had one person making everything. One person making everything. That means the burgers, that means the fries, that means the chicken sandwiches. One person. You have one person doing the cashier. You had also the person making the shakes, getting the orders. There was no more than one person in the cashier and who was doing multiple tasks. The manager was doing multiple tasks. So you gotta take into consideration that with all that, the chances are you're not gonna have your food right away, especially in 1 minute, especially being made to order. But because he let his emotion get the best of him, he made a big scene that was not necessary. And people looked at him like he was nuts. He was cursing down the storm, looking at him nuts. Your food ain't gonna be here any faster. Your food ain't gonna be here any more faster than what you're doing. Be patient. It was only here 2 minutes, not 10, not 15, not 20. Be patient. But he let his anger, his rage, because he felt at that particular moment that his needs need to be done now, right now. Um, the same thing was with the situation here. He did not need to go to that van. Was it loud? Yeah. Is it annoying? Of course it is. People blasting music for no reason just to show off. Of course you're gonna get annoyed. But is it worth going to have a actual confrontation which can lead with you taking another person's life or putting yourself in dire jeopardy? I got news for you. No. Music is fine. The car is gonna drive off. And the fact that you shot this car and you actually left that scene made things a lot more worse. And again, this goes back to the argument of the self-defense. They're using self-defense over everything, especially when you're the person engaging in this particular confrontation. Just because they say stand your ground doesn't mean you should go out there and be a cowboy or go out there and be a vigilante. And this is the thing that really scares me about stand your ground in certain states. Now I can't knock Texas because they do have a strict stand your ground law. I actually read it myself, and they made it very clear you can't use stand your ground on everything. You can't go to this person's house and start a fight and then you stand your ground even though you was engaging into the confrontation. You provoked the confrontation, and this is the same thing. He evoked the confrontation, and the prosecutor can make. I mean, the defendant can make all the arguments you want, but the point is, with the witnesses, with testimony from all four corners, chances are he's going to go to jail. He's going to go to jail for a very long time, no matter what kind of stand your ground situation he wants to throw it. Because again, you engage in the confrontation. You provoked it. And you know what? The witnesses are also the ones that are talking. This is the big difference. I'll leave a link below. You guys can talk about it. But again, I have to say, we let our emotions get the best of us. We believe that holding a gun gives us the right to confront anybody that comes in our way, and if they decide to do something or threaten us, that's give us keep going to use our guns. There are people who honestly shouldn't be having them, especially if they don't know how to use it properly, and especially don't know when the time to use it, when you actually have no choice but to use it. But that's an argument for another day. Last but not least, might as well talk about this one. The T.S.A., as no surprise to anybody else, in case you haven't heard, the T.S.A. had banned all liquids from carry-on bags. Now, the reason why this happening because there was a report about terrorists possibly using toothpaste and other liquid-contained items as explosive. This was actually made page 3 on the New York Post, page 2 on the Daily News. So it's no surprise that TSA will respond to, especially with Homeland Security, basically warning them that you might want to tighten up security. This is the response, especially for all flights going to Russia, that this is going to happen. Now you know Russia is hosting the Olympics, so and there's been a lot of craziness over security. A lot of people is wondering if they're going to be secured, especially with all the threats hailing on left and right there. And security is a very big deal, especially with the Munich, I hope I'm saying it right, situation. They're still fresh in a lot of people's heads. So this is something that they really very much are going to be trying to, keep a super tight lip on security. They want to make sure nothing slips, especially from the U.S. end. But the T.S.A. is basically doing that. It's not a big deal. I know a lot of people say, "Oh, yeah, come on, you're gonna do this," but believe me, when that the report of this about the toothpaste threat, no one should be surprised that T.S.A. response is to ban all items. Now, it's not towards any location. There's just certain select few, Russia's being one of them, and there may be a possibility they may lift that after the Olympics is over. But for now, that is going to be the norm for at least about a few more weeks, and people are just gonna have to know, don't bring in something that's considered liquid, so it's gonna be confiscated, and you may be put to question as to why you brought that on the plane. But to avoid that, just don't carry it. Especially those who head for Russia, just don't carry it. Even if you're not watching the Olympics and you gotta be at Russia, just avoid that. Avoid that problem. At least until the Olympics over. I'm pretty sure they will lift it once that's done. That's pretty much it, guys. I'll leave links to all the topics I've talked about. And as always, if you got any feedback, please be free to voice in the comment section. But until then, I'm J77 saying take care, be safe. I'll talk to you soon.